Vantage. And I'm not crazy when I say that this is the best Aston Martin ever built. I've been fortunate to drive a number of Aston Martin products over the years, and I've even found love and delight with the ones that weren't so good. The older sport shift transmission was not a great transmission. The cars had their occasional quirks and faults, but you overlooked it because there's something special about the brand. You do not need to do that anymore because this car is fucking incredible. A lot of that is owed to Aston Martin's partnership with AMG, of course. All the electronics under the skin, they work really well because Aston Martin doesn't have to worry about them. This has Mercedes' Command infotainment system. And while the font and stuff looks a little bit dated, it all works. It pairs to your phone seamlessly every time. It reads it when it's plugged in on an aux cable or a USB cord. The map never gets squidgy or delayed. It all works, just like the engine. Under the hood is Mercedes' 4-liter twin-turbocharged V8 engine. Here it's making about 503 horsepower and 505 pound-feet of torque. And backing it up is the ZF 8-speed transaxle gearbox, which is a wonderful gearbox because it helps distribute the weight and it fits perfectly in this car, and it sets it up for a future 7-speed manual. Fear not, though. This paddle shiftable gearbox is wonderful. Now, it's not going to rip off lightning quick shifts like Porsche's PDK, but it is damn close, and it is great in corners if you let it do its own thing. I'm going to put it back into drive. Here we go, power on through. Now for this next corner, I'll need to brake. Downshifted for me, power on through. Seamless, great, awesome. This vehicle has different driving modes. It starts off in sport. There's no standard, there's no street. It's just sport. I shouldn't use German accent, even though it's some German tech under here. It's sport, old chap. It's sport, sport plus, and track. And when you put it in track, that's when the exhaust comes alive. Now, it's nice to fire it up in the morning and not make your neighbors hate you, even though there's something fun about that. It's nice to have the option to not make them hate you. Put it into Sport Plus and the exhaust wakes up a little bit. Put it into track, and when you let off the throttle and there's a bit of throttle overrun, it sounds like there's a machine gun on each side letting everybody know that this car does have serious business under its hood. I'm going to grab the paddle and go. So get into third. I'm going to have to show you this. I'm going to have to move the camera, put the camera there, and let you hear it because it's amazing. It's so much louder than I thought Aston Martin would do with the throttle overrun. You're not going to pick it up on this mic, which is a shame, but it is tremendous noise. It is fantastic. It is fun every time. And it'll do it without having the paddle shifters engaged. If you just put it in drive, if you give it the D and leave it in track mode, it'll make those same noises. It's just excellent. The suspension, the adaptive dampers are adjustable as well, just like the sport button for the throttle and paddles and all that stuff, and the exhaust. The dampers go from sport plus to track, and it just gives you increasing levels of firmness. The fun part is Aston Martin right out of the gate already gives this great steering because it's a 13-to-1 steering ratio, which is delightfully quick. This is a short wheelbase car, so this thing will change directions as quickly as you want it to be. It is damn fine on twisty roads. It goes. If the back end does step out, which if you have traction control, it really shouldn't do that. But if you're absolutely caning it, it's very catchable. The traction control will save you, but if you hit the button, you can put it into ESP off track mode, which will still save you a little bit, but it will allow for a little bit more shenanigans. And shenanigans are good. We like shenanigans here in the Hooniverse, right? Pop it into reverse. Let's head back up the hill because it's never enough. There we go. Grab a paddle. Shenanigan button has been pressed. And then when you press it, you can do some shenanigans, but not tons of shenanigans right there. Now, if you're on a racetrack really pushing it, it'll let you do lurid slides, which are always fun. but I don't want to do lurid slides right now because I am on my favorite twisty driving road. This is the Hooniverse Hooning Highway Proving Grounds, which were recently on fire and thankfully are no longer on fire. This car just feels like such a better package than Vantages of old. Everything is tighter, there's more growl to the engine, and the old V8 sounded good, the old V12 sounded incredible. I am not missing either of them one little bit. This gearbox really works so well with that engine. This thing has big brakes, so when you come to a corner hot, just step on it, don't lose your sound recorder, step on it, they come, I mean, the speed is hauled down tremendously, as good as the speed is generated, and that is always confidence building. I'm not just being facetious or overly verbose or dramatic about this car. This is the best car that Aston Martin has ever built, at least in terms of just road-going public cars. You know, someone might say, what about the 177 or the Vulcan or the Valkyrie? You'll never see one of those in your life unless you go to like Goodwood, Festival of Speed, or your friend is a billionaire. You're not going to see one of those. You have a chance of seeing a Vantage, and you are still seeing something so damn special. Now we got to talk about the looks too, because that's where we're going to separate the crowd a little bit. I love it. I'm an unabashed Aston Martin fanboy, so take all of my opinions with a grain of salt, minus the fact that I say that this is the best Aston ever made. On the front, the nose takes some getting used to. Not the nose, but the grille itself. The grille is massive. It's grown on me. The best angle on this car is the rear end and the rear three-quarter. I love the giant rear diffuser. I like the ventilation near the exhaust pipe. I really like the way this looks. And three-quarter looks fantastic. The profile is wonderful. Everything about this car is just so good. The interior is excellent. If you see glass, it's glass. If you see aluminum, it's aluminum. If you see leather, you better bet your ass many cows have died to give you this wonderful bridge of wear. English leather inside. Carbon fiber, there's a little bit of carbon fiber. They used it liberally and it works well right here in the surround of the buttons. And then that's the only area where the interior is a bit busy for me. That's a shitload of buttons. They're laid out cleanly enough, but there are buttons and switches everywhere. It's a little bit too much, in my opinion. I like having buttons to push rather than digging through menus. So, you know, kudos for that, but it just looks like a lot of buttons. Good Lord, this car is fun. And it sounds good, and it goes fast, and it looks amazing. And why would you buy a Porsche over this? Now, I know you would because it's a little bit cheaper, but the Porsches that this competes with, the price is about the same. The Porsche is going to be faster. The Porsche is always going to have the edge. But for me, I don't care. I'm not racing. I'm not trying to win anything in this car. I just want to go fast. All I want to do is race, Daddy. No, I just want to look good and be comfortable and have the ability to go fast when I need to go fast. This car covers all those bases and covers them incredibly well. The DB11s, the DBS, those cars cost more. This is the one I'd get, no question. It's just, I can't get over how well built and well made and how well this car performs. It is a revelation from a company I enjoy. I've always liked Aston Martin products, even, well, you know, admitting that, yeah, this part isn't great and that part could be better, and why did this error light come on? I don't think you're going to have those issues at all in this car. It is the best driving, one of the best looking, just one of the most fantastic Aston Martin products out there. You could look at the Mercedes AMG GTC, GTR. This competes with those, but it shares the same engine. So you can get the Mercedes one, which looks cool and sounds great, or you can get the one with the Aston Martin badge on the back of it. Which one would you choose? I own a Mercedes. It's an old one. I love seeing the star on the nose of my W114 Benz. I love it. There's no question, if I had the money, which I do not, there's no question that I would pick this over the AMG GT. No question. I would have this over a 911 Turbo S and concede the performance and capabilities of that wonderful car. This is the car I would get if I was buying in the segment. No question about it. This is easily the best Aston Martin ever built. And I'm going to give it another go because this car is it's just so good.